solutions. By working closely with clients, Lanco Group is able to meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments on time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au. Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists that specialise in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website dkpco.com.au or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
Victory looking to build. Barbarouses is quick. Is he in behind top or Stanley? It doesn't matter! Costa Barbarouses! Wow!
Like a salmon, a spawning salmon. And Diamante again! Oh, he's done it!
Unbelievable kick from Maria.
I can't believe I'm saying this. Nick D'Urbano is with me. That's something I can't believe I'm saying. What I especially can't believe I'm saying to start this week's rapid fire edition of the Oz Football Hour is that the Socceroos have qualified for their 5th consecutive World Cup in the most spectacular of circumstances, a penalty shootout win over Peru, and Andrew Redmayne, the grey wiggle, is the architect of it all with a crucial penalty save when it got down to sudden death to make things a sure thing. And if that sounds crazy to you, that's because it was absolutely insane. It was just a ridiculous morning in so many respects. A result, an outcome that going into the game not many people gave the Socceroos a chance of achieving, and yet running off the smell of an oily rag, Nick D'Urbano and myself, Lachie Flannigan, are here to recap the game here on the Oz Football Hour. No Jason Goldsmith. I hope he's having a good time away from the Dockland studios. I'm sure it's never hard when the Socceroos are there, but we are there, Nick. How did you see it happening? Because there is just a lot to unpack.
Good evening, Lachie. Thank you for having me on the Oz Football Hour, the esteemed position of Jason Goldsmith. I've had a lot of time to process this. I'm not going to lie, I am absolutely exhausted.
Oh, yeah. No.
Like, we've both been up since prior to 4 a.m., you know.
Do you want to know something really scary, Nick?
What?
I've had back-to-back hours. Back-to-back. See, I can't even get my sentences right. That's how little sleep I've had. Back-to-back nights of 4 hours sleep.
That's concerning, mate.
Well, yeah, one because of work and one because of the ruse. So, yeah, if I'm getting the sentences mixed up, that is why. But I'm sure that is a feeling that a lot of people can relate to at the moment.
I am still absolutely just, it's amazing, isn't it? Like what happened this morning. Look, the result itself is great, as I alluded to a little bit earlier on the TNC football podcast as well. Quick shout out to them, but also what I alluded to on Twitter earlier today too. Making the World Cup is so much better than not, and it is simple for the fact that it sounds like such an elementary take to just say, yep, of course making the World Cup's better. But we had people actively saying for months now saying that Australia need the wake-up call of missing the World Cup. Wrong. So wrong. This morning was not a great game of football. Let's just put it right out there. It was a shocking game of football that I would love to get.
Well, Nick, I mean, a lot of people online would not necessarily agree with you.
That's fine. I thought the penalty shootout was fine.
No, that's fair. But certain pundits have said that Australia created enough chances to win that game in regular time. They had the control of the game. It was theirs to lose. The only part where Peru really threatened was in the second period of extra time. I mean, what would you say to... Because I am thinking on your side of the fence, but there are a significant portion of people who think that this was one of the Socceroos' better performances in recent times.
We have a tendency to get so caught up on outcomes, but not at processes. And, looking at, okay, we won a game. We won, so we must be playing really well at the moment. We did not play well. It was not a good game of football. We did enough.
Why didn't we play well in your view?
It's the same problems that has been, plaguing Australia's entire World Cup qualification phase. And I'm sure that we're of a very similar opinion. U-shaped possession, looking like, first of all, the lineup for what they wanted to play was not conducive. And they wanted to play off the deck, playing out, didn't want to go long balls, and they stuck Mitchell Duke up top. And it's like, if you're going to play Mitchell Duke up top, you've got to play a bit more direct. That didn't make sense. They didn't play to his strengths. The midfield was completely neglected. Like, they had Aiden Hrustic basically playing as a second striker. He barely got involved in the attacking phases. Australia barely created. And we look at that and go, the fact we won, it's good. We had a couple decent chances at the end of the second half from Hrustic and Beach, but they weren't they were decent chances, but it's not like we were creating anything actually inside the area. They came out of moments of transition. They came out of moments just breaking forward. We did not play well at all. We defended pretty good, I thought, but the penalty shootout, look, you know what? Like, we're sort of burying the lead here. We probably should have spoken about the performance stuff maybe a little bit later. For as bad as it was, I mean, talking about the outcome, it's pretty damn cool that we're going back to a fifth straight World Cup. Despite the fact that this has been one of the most uninspiring World Cup qualification, tourneys that we have seen in recent memory. And it's been one of the most, disappointing. And we've seen some of the most disappointing performances all around post hashtag the winning streak against Nepal and Taiwan and those sort of nations. This has not been a good run for Australia. And in the end, look, I got to say, Andrew Redmayne, Lachie, I want to get your opinion on this because you're the Andrew Redmayne whisperer. 10 years ago.
Some people have said that.
10 years ago, you had your chat to Andrew Redmayne when he was still at Melbourne Heart, and you said to him, mate, like, there's going to be a moment in 10 years' time. You need to be ready for it.
Yeah, I've got a little photo with him, which people can check out on the Twitter sphere. But
the ABC Instagram account.
Yeah, I remember if you're wondering who that weird Justin Bieber looking child is in a Melbourne Heart turtleneck jersey on the ABC Sport account.
Austin.
That is me. Fortunately, the hair looks very different now, and despite the comments that some people have made, it's not coming back. The bowl cut won't.
I'm disappointed.
Will not be returning. But yeah, I just had a bit of a premonition on the day and said, Redders, which is is what people used to call him back then, back in his sort of young boy phase. You're going to be called into action in 2022. Start working on the wiggle routine. Develop a nice beard, and the moment will come to you. You'll know what I'm talking about. And look, I don't know what was going through your head, Nick, when the camera panned across to the sidelines and we saw Craig Goodwin standing there, ready and waiting on the wings. And then in the background, like the Viper Randy Orton, was Andrew Redmayne just standing in the background. In full kit, ready to come on. But it was just, like I've said, I came into this game not just having 4 hours of sleep the night before, but having 4 hours of sleep the night before that. So legitimately, there was a very small part of me, a really small part of me that was like, am I actually so tired that I'm starting to see things?
Yeah.
And that Andrew Redmayne is standing in the background of the screen and I'm imagining this. And then I I refreshed, I checked it again, I paused and played the screen, and Andrew Redmayne was still there. And then he was on the field saving penalties for Australia.
You know what was sort of the funny part is when I first saw him lumber up, I thought, oh, is he just like standing there as like moral support as like the third goalkeeper, just like he's up off his feet and he's just barking instructions?
Maybe he might have thought that he was like a Ben Foster style, just vlogging the World Cup qualifier.
Absolutely.
Experience.
And then I realised, oh my God, he's actually coming on.
He's coming on.
He's coming on. Like, what is this? And to his credit, to his absolute goddamn credit, because if this backfired, oh my God, if this backfired, it would have been a disaster. But to his credit, he psyched out the Peruvians. I was worried at the start. I'm thinking, like, is this actually going to work? You know, there was one penalty in particular where he got caught so flat-footed from his Wiggles routine and like, I thought, this is going to backfire big time. This is not looking good. And then there was that brilliant save. I honestly didn't expect he was actually going to save one. I thought he was going to psych him out enough to make them miss. But in the end, it worked. And I mean, what a save it was. He stayed on his line, which is a credit to him. But like, he's an Australian hero now.
Yeah.
Who would have thought 6-7 years ago we'd be calling Andrew Redmayne a Socceroos hero, a hero who has just sent the Socceroos to the World Cup.
Nick, not even 6 or 7 years ago.
Couple of days ago.
6 or 7 days ago.
Hours ago.
If someone said, because when the squad initially came through, one of the biggest bones of contention with this whole squad was, why is Andrew Redmayne being picked as the third keeper? And there were some people on the side of the argument that's like, well, he's not going to play. What does it matter? Well, he has played and he's provided the single most important part of this whole qualification journey. And to be perfectly honest with you, Nick, because as you were sort of touching on before, the performance in this game, some people would say that it was brighter than previously, but the qualification run over the stretch for Australia hasn't been good. It's been poor, in fact. I think that a complete meme moment, which is what this was, let's be honest, part of the reason that this is being so widely talked about beyond it just being a huge occasion is that it's really funny. It's really, really
funny. It is
funny.
Objectively hilarious.
It's if you're, even with your outside the soccer circle, like if you're not on soccer Twitter, to even just watch a man who you've never seen before whip out these weird antics on the line,
the Wiggles
is funny. And I really don't think, in the vein of if you don't laugh, you'll cry, I can't think of a better way for this Socceroos squad with the way they've played to eke their way through to a fifth consecutive World Cup. But it looked like for a moment when Martin Boyle missed that first penalty that it wasn't going to be the case. I was drawing a line through it.
Yeah, I thought that was it. Like, you remember me when it comes to watching penalty shootouts. I'm like the number one moment there's a miss, I automatically rule out the team I'm supporting. You remember me during the bloody Euros, like in the final.
My ears certainly remember as well, particularly the right one.
Yeah, like you remember, like I think it was Locatelli that missed, and I was straight away like, oh my God, we've fluffed it, like it's over now. Like, no, calma, it's all right, it'll be fine. When Boyle missed, though, there was this feeling of like, this is like the first penalty as well to miss. It's like, this is the worst possible start. But then to their credit, the next 5 penalties, oh my goodness, that was some good bloody penalties. Like Aiden Rustic, what a penalty. Like just seriously, like cool as ice, like stood up, just popped it in. It was like, it was not full Jorginho spec, but it was close to it for like that sort of slow sort of like hezzy when he goes to take the penalty and he like sent the goalkeeper the wrong way. But like as the penalty shootout kept going, like once Peru missed for the first time, I thought, all right, I got a good feeling now. I reckon we're going to win this one.
Yeah.
I genuinely thought once Peru missed the first one that we're not losing. And it just felt like that Redmayne was starting to get in their head slowly. And it was a great save to win it. So, look, Lachie, we're going to the World Cup. I don't know how. I actually am still shocked. We shouldn't be like this shocked about Australia going to the World Cup. But I'm shocked. To an extent, I'm really shocked because I genuinely thought, I will come out and say it, I thought going into these two games that we were proper screwed. And if we didn't lose against the UAE, I thought we were going to lose against Peru. And I'll happily wear the egg on my face and say, yep, like I said that. But you know what? Credit to them. They got the job done in penalties. It's not easy to win a penalty shootout, and they got it done. But in terms of what they're dealing up on the field when it comes to the non-sort of random, toss of a coin sort of penalty shootout situation where basically anyone can win a penalty shootout. Doesn't matter what team you are. All rules basically go out the window. There are a lot of issues Australia still need to address going into Qatar. A lot of issues. Otherwise, it's going to be the same story it's been for the last 3 World Cups.
Sure. Well, look, we've got the comments section active, whether you're watching on Twitch or on the Facebook Live, and of course you can listen back to the podcast later.
Awesome.
But Lyle coming through saying the qualification campaign wasn't poor. We played to the standard that the team is at and the standard that football is currently at in Australia. I think we outplayed Peru in this game. What do you say to that, Nick? Because there are some people who would allege against your argument that the quality of players. What do you think? You've mentioned what you don't like to see or what you haven't liked about Australia in this qualification campaign. What do you think they need to do better? Do you think they can't do it better with the quality of players that are available? What is there for Graham Arnold to do between now and the World Cup?
The argument that Australia doesn't have the cattle is such a lazy argument, in my opinion. There's enough quality in that team to not even have to worry about going through the playoff phases. It's a matter of utilisation, a matter of tactics. It's a matter of how they're utilised in that system, and the fact that this team has a completely neglected midfield 3 and players playing out of, their best function. Like, that's an issue. Look, Australia have issues in terms of who leads the line. Like, if Adam Taggart's not fit, Australia have an issue up top. They had an issue at centre-back today with Harry Souttar and Trent Sainsbury injured. I'll accept that. I'll accept that about no Tom Rogic. I'll accept that about no Adam Taggart. But there is enough quality in this team to still get the job done. They're performing well under what they can do because there is quality in this team. And I think that, just because these players aren't playing in, the Premier League or, a lot of them aren't playing in La Liga or Serie A, a couple in the Bundesliga, it automatically there is this connotation of, well, they must not be that good, right? There's enough talent in this team. Lachie, we've seen these players play for however long. In midfield, when they're all on the same page and they pick the right players, they're not getting the right mix right in midfield. Aaron Moyes still playing is just baffling considering this one. A lot of people praised his performance, but the fact he hasn't been playing at club level and the way he's utilised in the Socceroos team in terms of how he slows play down from deep, he just doesn't function in the way Australia wants to play. Not the right option. You got a guy like Denny Jomro should be seeing minutes. The fact that we don't see Marco Tilio getting enough scope in this team. The fact that we don't see Jason Cummings getting selected when he's a player who could be transformative in this team. There are a lot of good players in this team, Lachie. And not even just in this team, in Australian football. And I do think that that's quite a lazy argument because we've seen, when we played against Saudi Arabia, especially here, we've seen it when we've played against even teams like Japan. We can stick it to them. We can beat them if we're at our best. It's not an incapable team at all. It's a matter of utilisation and tactics. That's my opinion, and it always has been throughout this phase of the Socceroos.
Yeah, I mean, and particularly thinking back to the start of this game, the expectations that Graham Arnold was working against, not a lot of people giving us a chance, particularly based off the performance that we put up against the UAE, which certainly had a lot of people worried coming up against a team like Peru. But then in this actual game, we were all so scared of what the Peruvians would bring. Oh, they're the South American playoff team, like they're going to wipe the floor with us. Like I saw predictions of 4-0 out there, that sort of thing.
I did as well, yeah.
But they were really poor in this game.
They weren't good.
Like yes, the Socceroos maybe, I wouldn't be as negative about their performance as you might have been, for example. I do think they did some good things. But I do think at points in this game, it was a bit of a situation where two teams were kind of falling over each other, because as much as the Socceroos didn't blow you away, I thought Peru, for me, did the complete opposite. They were so underwhelming in this game. They completely cooked it. And I wonder if maybe a lot of people are viewing the performance of the Socceroos in this game, in this specific 90 minutes, against the expectations of what Peru were going into the game, if you sort of get what I mean. Like, everyone was expecting Peru to be so big, and so when we were at a closer level, people were still judging them against what they were assuming would be the case, whereas what was the reality, which was that Peru really struggled. I think they looked worse for their lead into this game, obviously only turning up to Qatar, I think it was 3 days before the qualifier, in, pretty tough conditions to not to play, obviously, not just to play in. Obviously, the stadiums are air conditioned and everything, but they actually just be around. It's so hot in Qatar, even in the early morning, and we're playing in the middle period of the year where we can't play the World Cup now because it's too hot, and these players are having to come off a 3-day run-in to play this game. And I think it really hampered Peru, because they were really off. And I don't think it was, for me, not necessarily a case of the Socceroos playing really well. It was more that Peru just undershot the lofty expectations I think Australian football fans had set out for them.
Remember, they were without Yotun in midfield as well, who's such a key part of the way they play. Look, there's still, for me, Peru. I still think Peru were really disappointing. Like, I can't even fathom how poorly they played. They'd never really. Look. I will say, though, Peru probably did create the better of the chances inside the box. That's one thing I'll definitely give, especially in that second period of extra time. Hitting the post. They were pushing. They were asking questions of the Socceroos defence. I got to say, the Socceroos defended, I thought, quite well for most of the game, didn't allow those opportunities. But, again, I feel like Peru could have taken it to them just a little bit more. And you could see there was a bit of frustration seeping into Gareca as the game went on. They weren't attacking Nathaniel Atkinson, I think, nearly as much as they should have after he got that early yellow card. And we've seen Nathaniel Atkinson. I'm a big Nathaniel Atkinson guy. I think he's you're a big Nathaniel Atkinson guy as well.
100%.
That he's a quality fullback. He's a quality wing back as well. Wherever you want to utilise him, he's just a very good player. But his form over the past 2 games has been a little suspect. He struggled against UAE, struggled again today, and they took him off for Fran Karacic. But in those moments, they really should have been peppering him, just going down that left-hand side, going through Cueva. I know without Yotun that gets affected, but they didn't take the game to Australia nearly as much as what they should have, and they should have sensed that opening. And I don't know if that's a mentality thing. I don't know if that's something that the players just, because it seemed like Gareca wanted them to go for it because he was getting really frustrated in some moments. It's not like he was, telling them to sit off and, knock the ball around and avoid that position. He was getting really annoyed when they wouldn't attack that right fullback. So, you know what? I think it worked well for Australia in the end. That's the way Peru played. Like, didn't really ask too many questions. I thought the UAE actually asked more questions of Australia than what Peru did, because there was never that sense of dread that every time Peru go forward, they're going to score.
Well, but and thinking back to our last meeting with them in 2018, that was exactly what they did. Every time they had such a massive amount of threat on both flanks, and every time a player like an Andre Correa, for example, was able to carry the ball down the flank, I would be legitimately scared that they would score with every opportunity. But in this game, and it wasn't necessarily a matter of instruction perhaps because Gareca was so frustrated, it might have been a matter of conditioning, as we've mentioned, but they just looked so timid. Like,
it was weird because
they played how I expected Australia to approach this game, and you can't have two teams doing that at the same time.
Absolutely. And, remember Luis Advincula at that 2018 World Cup absolutely tearing us up from fullback. And he was good again. I got to say, he was good again tonight. But the fact there was that feeling of I remember the first time I watched Peru at the 2018 World Cup against Denmark and being amazed at the waves of the way they attacked and just throwing numbers forward and completely bombarding the Australia defence. But they're not the same team that they were in Russia, and it's quite obvious. And I think that worked well. It worked perfectly for Australia. So look, you know what, Lachie, I got to say though, just on a more broad scale, talking about the result for Australia, it's an awesome result for them. Like going to a 5th straight World Cup, it's an amazing achievement considering where Australia was. Like think about 20 years ago, like we hadn't been to a World Cup in 32 years. Heading into Germany, and you know, now we're going to 5 straight. Like far out, Lachie, look at the teams of our heritage. You know, we both like Scotland and Italy right now can't even get to the World Cup. You know, so like
shout out to Lyndon Dykes as well. My heart is with you, mate. I know how tough it is to be a fervent Scottish supporter and have to deal with things not going your way. Something that Martin Boyle is not feeling. He's comparatively vindicated for his decision to abandon Scotland in favour of Australia. Whether or not he'd play is another matter altogether. But anyway, we're going to talk a little bit more about Graham Arnold and what this qualification means in the broader context on the other side of a break here on the Oz Football Hour. If you've missed any of what we've been talking about so far, just recapping the game, we're going to get into the deep roots on the other side of this message from our sponsors.
Are you looking to change your destiny in life? Be your own boss? Start your own business? If you are, you need people who understand your needs and are committed to helping you make it happen. At DKP & Co Chartered Accountants, we are more than just accountants. We are business advisors, taxation consultants, and strategists specialised in setting up businesses. We understand the client and give them the very best customised advice and strategies to achieve their goals. Visit our website, dkpco.com.au, or give us a call today on 03 9023 9370. Fast, proactive, personal. That's DKP & Co Chartered Accountants.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Introducing Lanco Group for innovative engineering consulting services.
Lanco Group provides superior civil engineering and innovative solutions to developers, local government and service authorities. Working closely with clients, Lanco Group helps meet the complex infrastructure requirements for residential, commercial and industrial developments. On time, on budget. Find out more at lancogroup.com.au.
Lanco Group, your business partner for engineering solutions.
With this great sporting nation who has yet to embrace fully the world's greatest game, and for so long of trying to have the game accepted. And when I'm up to the big football field in the sky, I just want just to remember I told you so.
And suddenly the complexion of the game changes. Let's hope it doesn't, but this is the best period for Iran in the match. Ali Daei, danger for Australia here, the flag's down! It's an equaliser!
Just feel for them, not just the boys, they are representative of so many people who make this game their life. It's just, I can't say anything, mate.
All right.
Especially as they have the impetus. Aloisi, Cahill, Tim Cahill has done it again! What a goal by Tim Cahill! 2-1 Australia! Oh, it's a wonderful moment in Kaiserslautern! And Tim Cahill has come off the bench and maybe won the match for the Socceroos.
You're listening to FNR, Football Nation Radio.
Takes, and it's in! It's Ben Watson! It's Ben Watson for Wigan Athletic! They've surely won the FA Cup! For Dave Whelan, for Roberto Martinez! You just cannot write
Barbarouses is quick. Is he in behind top or Stanley? It doesn't matter! Costa Barbarouses! Wow!
Like a salmon, a spawning salmon. And Diamante again. Oh, he's done it!
Unbelievable kick. Mamma mia.
Welcome back here on the Oz Football Hour, where we're still, myself, Lachie Flannigan, and Nick D'Urbano, basking in the glory and chuckling at the hilarity of the Socceroos qualification for the World Cup in Qatar.
Did it actually happen?
And the circumstances in which it happened. Nick, I'm not 100% sure. I might wake up tomorrow and I'll just check my Twitter and my Andrew Redmayne tweet is not there. The Socceroos result is incomplete on FOTMob, and I find out that it's actually Monday still.
Yeah, and
Heidelberg United Oakley Cannons hasn't happened yet. Yes. I didn't actually commentate that game.
Collingwood didn't beat Melbourne on Monday.
You ruined it. Sorry.
Lachie, come on, mate.
You ruined it. But anyway, someone who didn't ruin it is a man who was under a lot of pressure leading up to this game. I'm speaking of none other than Graham Arnold.
Yep.
Despite all the criticisms of him, he has delivered on what was promised, on what he was staking his job, his reputation on, and that is getting the Socceroos to the World Cup. And he did it via the aid of a very big decision, of course, the substitution of Andrew Redmayne onto the field, which we've mentioned. Now, a lot of praise has come out for Arnie in light of the qualification, specifically the decision as well, to bring Andrew Redmayne onto the field. How much credit do you think Arnie does take for the manner in which this game played out and the decision to bring Redmayne on himself?
I just want to read something that I'm reading on Graham Arnold's Wikipedia page, because someone has gone to the efforts, Lachie.
Okay.
If you know whenever like there's something big happens in world sport or something, and someone goes just edits their Wikipedia page and adds all sorts. So in his return to the Australian national team tab under his coaching career, the final sentence is, on the 14th of June 2022, Arnold produced a tactical 4D chess masterclass by selecting Mitch Duke and Nathaniel Atkinson to start in the Intercontinental Playoff game against Peru in Qatar. With the teams locked at 0-0 with 1 minute of extra time remaining, Arnold subbed on Andrew the Grey Wiggle Redmayne, who made the match-winning save on the 5th Peru penalty kick. That result sent Australia to the 2022 World Cup finals in Qatar. Hashtag soccer Twitter imploded and Sir Graham of Gosford's legend was sealed. I wouldn't go as far as saying the legend is sealed.
I just want to say, as you wrap that up, thanks, Evan Morgan Graham, for keeping such a good job of looking after Arnie's wiki page like that. Very good stuff.
Look, you know what? My belief was always when it came to Arnie was, with any football federation, I think in any international phase, is when you bring in a coach for the next phase, because obviously the cycle starts at the end of the World Cup and then goes through to the next, and you have your intercontinental tournaments in between, or continental tournaments, and obviously your qualification phase. If you bring that coach in, you need to see it through right to the end, no matter what happens. Like, you get to the World Cup, you don't get to the World Cup, you've got to see it through, unless something drastic happens. Now, Football Australia tied their mask to Graham Arnold, and right now they had to see it right through. For me personally, I have to say that, unfortunately, look, the style of football today was still not inspiring. There was nothing for me to suggest that, look, this is the guy that's going to take Australian back to or to a golden age in Australian football. But to his credit, the one thing I've got to say is, he got Australia to the World Cup. I know it came down to a randomised penalty shootout where anything can happen, but did get them there. I know Holger Osick technically got Australia to a World Cup too, but he got them there. And I still think there's a lot of questions we need to be asking about Graham Arnold's tenure, a lot of stuff about his position in the helm and some of his comments about Aussie DNA and, hearkening off that, and then, sort of not being held to account with some of his earlier comments when he first took over about, having the cattle and playing a beautiful style of football and wanting to play like Liverpool and scoring a lot of goals and everything. to now
the fact
talking,
that he said that. And
Yeah.
we
you remember that?
went
That was
for a nil
yeah.
penalty shootout. It's just so good.
And then he went to, now it's changed to having to basically go full Aussie DNA, and he's talking about basically, you know, having to basically kick their way through this game and be physical and everything. And now the recent thing that's come out after the game was about Jeff Fenwick sending in a motivational video that Arnie enlisted as well to pump up the players.
I'm amazed there hasn't been a single. We've gone through the whole qualification cycle with Arnie, particularly these last few weeks where the whole DNA concept has become particularly prevalent. Not one time have we heard Graham Arnold mention anything. Any quotes from Tony Robbins? Anything from Gary Vee? I was certain, given all the stuff that's come out, given the relationship we know Graham Arnold has with the coach whisperer Bradley C. Stubbs, I was convinced, like, we're going to, a Tony Robbins quote, a Tony Robbins motivational speech is going to get played in this dressing room, and I want to see some footage.
I was waiting for the Socceroos digital media team to drop, like, this video of Tony Robbins with his mic, like, you know, he wears the mic that comes around, and he's walking through, like, there, and he's got his booming baritone voice, like the bison that he is, and coming through, and, like, just pumping up the players with some rousing speech.
I can't believe it didn't happen.
If not, or as you said, if it's Gary Vee being that, like, you know, real, you know, smaller man, kind of, you know, getting in their face kind of stuff. I'm surprised. I didn't even go.
I think Gary Vee would have been quite proud of them, given some of the jobs that pushing out content some of the players have done with their Instagram lives after the game.
Absolutely. But you know what one I was also very surprised is I'm surprised they didn't go to the well with Mick Malthouse and got him to do like what they got with Collingwood to embody the Anzac spirit.
Gracious.
And, you know.
well, look, I'm gonna hold my hands up and say that I didn't expect Graham Arnold to achieve this result. And so I do think that he deserves credit for that, absolutely. But I found the reaction and the praise for his decision to bring on Andrew Redmayne quite interesting. Somewhat reflective of maybe a larger problem, because yes, it's obvious that there was a method to the madness. Let's not make any mistake; it was madness. Because Redmayne's got a very unique approach to how he lines up to penalties, and in a crucial moment, it's something you're not expecting, especially not expecting a third keeper to come on. That can very easily unsettle an opposition team.
Absolutely.
But I think so much of the thinking about this decision is results based.
Oh, absolutely. It's always results-based.
It's outcome-based, because two things. Penalties are a lottery. Everyone will tell you that. Everyone knows that. The team that takes the first penalty, statistically 54% chance of winning. You know, we all know these sort of basic rudimentary facts about a penalty shootout. We know they're random chance. This could very easily have been a situation where, if perhaps because we saw Redmayne have a bit of difficulty with getting the shots up towards the roof, with launching himself after he was doing that sort of dance.
He was flat-footed all the time.
If we saw a few higher penalties, we might be talking about a keeper who let their side down. If Matt Ryan had have stayed on, he might have been able to save 2 penalties.
But does that come down to, if it backfired?
Yeah.
Who's responsible? Because Arnie makes the decision. Arnie holds the gun.
I think it depends on the manner of the shootout. Like if Redders makes a mistake, for example,
fair enough.
I think it's on him. But if Redmayne doesn't save something,
say they're all good penalties.
If he doesn't make a single save, I think you do maybe turn the blame then on Arnold and go, well, we had our captain, our number one keeper, our keeper who's played at the highest level
and has done it before.
And you brought him off for not the second choice, but the third choice, and he's done a job in the penalty shootout before. But I just found the amount of praise for what was as good as it is, and as much as the clamour around it, has been extensive and justifiably so, it was a chance thing. The luck broke the side of Australia and the side of Andrew Redmayne this morning. And that sort of results-based thinking is, he's a genius for doing this because that's the reason we won, when that's not really how penalties actually work, if we're being honest with ourselves. Made me a bit worried, because I thought that feels a bit more reflective of where we're at and what I fear might happen now that the Socceroos have qualified in this manner, that we'll continue to see that concept of results and not process-based thinking permeate the discourse, and the idea of the Aussie DNA becoming a more prevalent part of Australian sporting culture. And that concerns me because as much as the fighting hard and wanting it kind of argument can push you on to things, I actually also think that it's a limiting belief. I actually think approaching games in this way puts a cap on what you can actually achieve. Because
I get that.
If you're just sort of approaching games with the mentality that, we're always the underdogs, we're always going to dig in and fight hard and, kick and scratch and claw, well, then you're always going to be a team who are playing second fiddle to your opponents. And for me, there's nothing courageous or battler about that. For me, that's almost letting your opponent dictate proceedings is almost a cowardly to me. It feels like the opposite.
One point I want to make before we wrap up, Lachie, because obviously we've got another program straight after this, is you speak about results and dictating, I guess, the discourse. Some of the, I hate to go full just all you people are wrong, but some of the takes after the game in regards to, that was an amazing performance, everything worked to a T, everything like that. This was an amazing win in terms of the way we played. It was an Arnie masterclass. Everything is just so short-sighted. And it's why? It's frustrating because it's if that penalty shootout goes the opposite way and we lose that game, Lachie, it is a complete 180 with what the takes are. We obviously, you mentioned penalty shootouts being it's a big 180 because we'd be saying, we didn't create during the game, we were negative, we didn't do this, we didn't do that.
It all feels a bit too reactionary.
Absolutely, because you think about it as well, because the narrative changes when you win in that situation with some of these people. So we defended brilliantly. The way we dictated possession was great, that we played it to a T. It doesn't really make sense, even words coming out of my mouth. This is some of the stuff I've been seeing on Twitter today, right? If we lose that game on penalties, it's a complete 180 because what then you're saying is you can then quickly flip that argument and say, we didn't create, we were too negative, the midfield didn't get involved. It's everything we're saying, right? But it's just with the tone of, but we lost. You know what I mean? It's we can use it as a bit of a cop-out. So.
Well, as Vince is saying in the Facebook Live comment section, in the words of Johnny Warren, we shouldn't just be looking at qualifying for the World Cup. We should be looking at how we can win it. Now, I wouldn't necessarily go that far. But we should be looking at the hows of what we're doing. Well, it's great that we've qualified for this World Cup. And I think especially in terms of coming back to the initial conversation, which was World Cups that... Can we afford to miss one? This kind of thing. This is the worst one of them all, just because of the timing of it against the Women's World Cup that we're hosting. This has created a gold rush kind of period for Australian football, and not having the World Cup would have been a real dampener on that. So now we've got that great build, but I just hope that the manner in which it's happened, the thinking that has driven some of the reaction and the analysis of, and revisionism, I think in many respects, of this campaign process, is that it entrenches the ideals that we've used to drag ourselves over the line, which is this sort of battler mentality. I don't know about other people, but for me, I want a national team that I can be proud of. Even if it is a team that loses, I want to support a team that actually is taking it to their opponent and says, we know you're a bigger nation than us, but we're not afraid to actually try and play the game on our terms. I want a team that I can really be like, look, we might not get the result, but I'm happy to be there. I don't want to just go every 4 years just getting over the line and there's no actual introspection because the weight of the relief off the shoulders is what we're all focused on. So I hope that thinking doesn't get further entrenched by all of this. And despite being able to acknowledge, awesome result, glad to have qualified, that we do spend a bit more time thinking about the how of these things. That's sort of my main point. But irrespective of all of that, it is still a super result, and it sets up Australia, both in men's and women's football, for an awesome awesome period, and one that could really turn the fortunes of
well, let's hope.
Around.
Well, Lachie, before we go, just one little quick thing.
Sure.
France, Denmark, Tunisia are coming real quick. We getting out of the group?
No, but I think we can get a result.
I think we win one. I think we finish with 3 points.
3? Okay.
I think we win against Tunisia.
I think we could get 2 points.
2 draws.
Yeah, I wouldn't be... I don't know.
No, we've got to aim to get out of the...
No, I agree. I completely
Anything
agree.
less is a fail.
But I could see a result possibly against... I know Denmark are better than they were in 2018, but the style of football ostensibly is still the same under them. It's one that if the Socceroos continue their current approach, I don't think is I don't think Denmark is well suited to what the Socceroos might bring. And Tunisia, there's enough of a... the gap is not sufficient enough that you could expect to get something.
I mean, we did okay against them in 2018.
Exactly. And France are, again, similar.
Cultural terrorists.
They are World Cup winners, obviously, but they're still ostensibly the same side under Deschamps as they were in 2018. And it took some significant fortune for them to get the result over us in 2018.
I know it's a very different team on both sides. Well, not really for France, but mainly for Australia. A different coach, but... I guess we'll just have to wait and see, Lachie. But nonetheless...
We will have to wait and see. But the relief from us at the FNR studios and for you watching at home or listening at home, depending on to how you're tuning in, is that we are watching it.
Yeah.
Is that we will
have a team to support.
That's the main thing that's the main thing to focus on as we wrap up here on the Oz Football Hour. Nick D'Urbano has got to get himself prepped for Paco Radio coming right up on the other side of this. I'm going to fall in a heap and go off to sleep. But if you've missed any of the show with myself and Nick D'Urbano, you can catch it on the FNR podcast platforms, or you can watch back the live stream on Facebook or Twitch if you're that way inclined. You want the visual aid. But for now, here on the Oz Football Hour, we'll be back next week.
Victory looking to build. Barbarouses is quick. Is he in behind Top or Stanley? It